Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to another episode of the Sour Graps NXT thing, Deadline Edition. I am your host, a guy wrapped in Christmas tree lights, and held with me as always is Kate. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Alex. This is your NXT Deadline post show for December 7th, and it is Sour Graps by brand, but this was not a very sour PLE. This was like a pretty well done all the way through PLE. So it's gonna be weird. Yeah. Because normally, Alex, we complain a lot.
Yeah,
and we fix it.
If you are more likely to want to hear us be that, then tune in tomorrow night behind the paywall when we talk about tonight's episode of Collision, because I have thoughts. So we'll talk. We'll be sour tomorrow. I said before the show that I believe that Tony Khan and HBK did a Freaky Friday and bodies, but then one had good booking ideas and one of them didn't, and it wasn't the usual one. So hey, we're here. We'll talk all about NXT Deadline, which had which is definitely the best Iron Survivor match ever, and also I believe should be the template for Iron Survivor matches from here on out, forever, in perpetuity, forever and ever. Amen.
Is it the template of it, or is it just that Femi was in it and you want him to be in all the Iron Survivor Series matches moving forward?
Both, but yeah.
There's when they first introduced the Iron Survivor, it seemed like such a convoluted concept, and I wasn't sure how it was going to work. And then it did, and then last year the only kind of negative about it is because of the nature of it, I feel like you're limited in the types of stories that you can tell, specifically with the finishes that you're going to get, just by the nature of it. And there's only kind of like 3 or 4 ways you can go with certain things. And I feel like tonight, the finishes of them were a little bit more similar within themselves, but there was more interesting stuff that happened throughout the match. And they figured out ways kind of around what we've seen from the previous ones. So I'm glad. I think this was one of the strongest PLEs of the year for NXT, definitely as far as like the intermittent ones go, that I can recall. So this was good. And this was another one where, because the Iron Survivors are long and they have a lot of talent and there's a lot happening with them, like the thinner card doesn't feel like it's spread too thin, which I think helped this PLE a lot from a pacing perspective. It wasn't just like, you have 5 matches and here you go. Like they're having those 2 specialty matches anchoring it down, made it feel like there was a lot more juice on here. So this was definitely one of the more enjoyable of the shows for me, NXT wise, for the year. They kind of closed out strong here. And I was pleasantly surprised by a few things on here, but we'll get into them as we go along. So get in your super chats, get in your humper chats, leave a thumbs up on this video. We'll also remind you to subscribe to FightfulSelect.com, which if you wanted an Femi update, you got it over there from Corey Brennan. Plenty of contract news, plenty of pay-per-view news. My goodness. All of the Ryan Nemeth news that went up, the clarity around Ray Phoenix's and Pench's contracts went up, more Ray Phoenix drama that unfolded today. But plenty happening on FightfulSelect.com. Best $5 in the biz. Couple additional things. 1, Fightful awards voting happens there. You can vote as a subscriber. And 2, there is gifting now on Patreon. So if you would like to gift a sub, you are able to do that as a little holiday treat. But Alex, you are shining brightly over there, and I feel like so too did the stars of NXT today.
Clever.
I was just trying to figure out how to throw it back to you for being so for real.
I appreciate it. Yes, I am shining bright, but also we were talking about how you wanted to do because Iron Survivor So the puns tonight are going to be reality shows, reality and game shows, things like that. Reality shows of the competition reality shows, or just, I don't know, regular old Vander Big Papa Pump rules. I don't know, like
Sure.
something like that. I don't know. So reality shows in honor of Survivor. That's our puns tonight. So reality show puns. There we go. Good. So the big news going into the show tonight was we still don't know who attacked Eddy Thorpe. No idea. It's not possible for us to have found that out over the past 4 days.
Nope.
We are asking everyone. Nobody will admit to it, and therefore we don't know because security cameras have not been installed anywhere in the building. Oh, wait, no, they have, because we have security footage of Carmelo Hayes maybe attacking Trick Williams. Remember that one thing from a few months ago?
Okay,
We've
but like
had
all of the
security-
NYPD can't find the guy that took out the CEO of United Healthcare. Okay, like
that's because ain't nobody snitching on that dude. So no, but this is the thing, is that we have since removed the security cameras that caught footage of people going after Trick Williams 6 months ago. And we don't have no idea who took out.
It could have been a different part of the backstage.
But we have one security camera backstage.
That's it.
It captures this square footage, and that's it. That's also very plausible with the way things are run around there. But they don't know who it is. We just know he's not cleared, which makes a lot of sense about why you would book him to win the Iron Survivor match the way that he did, and then get taken out and not be able to be in it, and then do a thing where, like, we will have a replacement. I am finding somebody who will be a suitable replacement, says Ava. And then right before the pre-show goes off the air, Sarah Schreiber breaks in and says, "Hello, Sam, Megan. I have breaking news here on the scene. Ava has found a person to be the replacement for Eddy Thorpe. Back to you." And Sam Roberts rightfully goes, "So who is it, though?" I mean, like, I'm pretty sure we knew there was going to be a person. We just didn't know who it was going to be. And I feel like you should figure that part out before you break in with breaking news. I'm standing here with
standing here backstage at NXT, and Ava has said there will be a person.
Yep.
Back to you.
Yeah, there you go.
That's kind of what
so they started the match not knowing who the fifth person was going to be. And in the SGS Discord, there was a lot of hope that it could be Femi. And there was a lot of fear that it would not be, and that all the people that it could be ranged from Lexus King, because he's been so nice to Ava would just put him in the match. And my thought would be that he gets put in the match, doesn't win it, but when Eddy Thorpe is finally able to identify his attacker, he'd be like, it was Lexus King, which would then allow us to all see, oh no, he was pretending to be nice. That's why the whole nice guy act felt so fake, because he was only pretending to be nice this whole time, and he still has it out for Eddy Thorpe because of the beep boops. But it wasn't Lexus King. And the people, oh no, what if it's Cody Rhodes? Because he just needs more gold. He just can't stay away from it.
Okay, that
it wasn't
would be
Cody
if they
Rhodes
acknowledged that
wasn't
Cody was
Rhodes
turning heel. No,
either. No, it started out the match. They did not reveal it until the fifth person entered.
This is what we would call a best case scenario for so many reasons. One, Femi is the greatest wrestler who ever lived. Obviously, that's number one.
Mm-hmm.
But a few things that I really like about this. One, Femi coming in last is so important because he was gonna win. So, like, he's not gonna be in this and lose. So if we know for sure,
he came within 5 seconds of not winning.
He did. But that's also you kind of have to do that with these matches. There has to be.
I suppose I would have had him get 7 pinfalls in the first minute when he came in and have nobody catch him. That's what I would have done.
That, you know what, with Femi they could have.
They almost did. I'm going to talk about the Listen, this is not only the best Iron Survivor match they've ever done, but it might be my vote for men's NXT match of the year.
I would have to think on that because I'm terrible with recall, but it was there were a few things about this, right? The combination of guys was so important here because like Javon Evans and Wesley offered something so different than everybody else in this. All of the interactions kind of made sense from a storytelling perspective, and also Femi is perfect and he won. So, but a huge shot in the arm for the men's singles division. We've been saying time over time, like show after show, this men's singles division is just so thin right now, and it's hampering Trick's title reign. We're going to talk about that. That was unfortunately, and not even the fault of the match, just the way it was built out. Like, what are the weaker things on the show? I don't really even think it's the fault of Trick or Ridge. But it was just a thing where like it didn't. Weirdly, throwing Eric Bischoff on this didn't give it the heat it needed to going into it. But this men's singles division needs this. I think Oba beating Trick, if you're not going to call him back up to the main roster, which I get it. He's very, very new at this, despite how great he is at it. Waiting another WrestleMania cycle might be a good idea. But like he's got to be the guy that beats Trick, and I actually think that'll do more for Trick's reign than anybody else that could beat him because Oba is such a conqueror. So all good things happening in this match. I really feel like the combination of dudes was a good thing. A little bit of sloppiness, but a little bit of almost like fun sloppiness from some of the high flying stuff in this. Like I kind of feel that way. These particular War Games matches on Survivor Series were a little bit extra sloppy, but sometimes I'm like, I like it when wrestling looks like it doesn't have to be pretty all the time. And in matches like this, there's so much chaos happening that I like a little dirt on my matches with stuff. Not everything's supposed to be perfect. I do feel like with Javon Evans, he's very young and very good and very still much acclimating to television. They might need to rein him in a little bit with some stuff because he's so incredibly athletically gifted, and they need to figure out just a little bit of harnessing. But yeah, I'm with you. This was definitely a top men's match of the year and by far the best men's Iron Survivor that we've seen.
Yeah, by far. I like it starting out with Javon and Wesley. Wesley getting a pin, cheating wise, feet on the ropes, right before the second guy comes in, is cool. Javon coming back in with a crazy high flying move, jumping over the ring post to go to the outside was cool. I liked how everybody got their pins leading up to the Oba Femi reveal. Like Nathan Frazer catching one on Ethan Page right after Ethan Page came in, and Ethan Page losing his mind about it.
Really good.
Getting one back on Frazer later. I think Evans, the last guy to get a pin there. Got one on when I was big. His big jumpy cutter thing that he does, big jumpy cutter, I believe is what they call that.
That is the NXT name for it is the big jumpy cutter.
The big jumpy cutter, and he hit one of those on Wesley, got a pin that way. When Oba Femi came in, all four men were lying dead on the canvas, and he came in.
My work has been done for me.
He's the best. He's the very best. He is I really hope that everyone who is watching him recognizes what a generational talent this guy is. Like, because he absolutely is. Like he's still, I believe he's still under 30 total matches in his career.
Crazy.
So I want you to watch just the instinct that he has as a performer in the ring, how to tell the beat to beat stories. The fact that he has not a 10-year veteran, like, just shows the incredible amount of instincts that he has. The sequence where were the other three dudes where Wesley, Nathan Frazer, and Javon Evans were all trading super kicks on him.
Yep.
And he'd get rocked and go back down to one knee, and then he'd just get fire in his eyes and get back up, and then one from the other side, and then just get back up. And eventually he was tired of taking super kicks. So he threw a forearm at Javon Evans that nearly murdered him.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, you stop it. And then these other two guys did a double super kick, and he was like, I don't like you. And he just did this huge running. He does this amazing recovery from the double super kick with his eyes and his facial expressions and the sounds that he makes. This big running double clothesline. He was like, I am not losing this match. And it was just this amazing thing the whole time. I love that the first thing, he immediately comes in and gets a pinfall.
Yes.
And then he starts doing the thing that last year they did in both Iron Survivor matches. The fifth person that comes in immediately gets multiple pinfalls. And they were starting to do that again this time, but everyone in that match knew, if we let this guy get up 3-1,
yep,
we're done. We have no shot because he's not taking a pinfall. So we have no idea, no way to get it back on him. We also know, I hope that because it looks like they all were recognizing this as well. He's not spending 90 seconds in the penalty box.
Correct. Yeah, that was an important part of this.
Right in the beginning. He eventually did. But right at the beginning, they were like, crap. Like, usually, like, okay, when this guy's out of the way, we can try and rack up some pinfalls on other dudes while this guy can't do anything about it. So they were immediately doing all of this calculus of like Nathan Frazer with a broken nose diving halfway across the ring to break up a pinfall, and Femi getting furious with him.
Yes.
Enough that he hits a huge powerbomb on Nathan Frazer, and then the ref gets pulled out of the ring by Ethan Page because no, we cannot allow this to happen. But then Femi walking out, and Ethan Page, listen, I know I got mad, and I think rightfully so, about how the mythification of Ethan Page.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that dude's not absolutely fantastic at it.
Yes.
Like he's immediately he turned into Ric Flair. Like, no. I won't do that. Why would I do that? I would never do that. It was so great. And him getting smashed up against the thing. Javon Evans can't get out that was really cool. But Javon Evans then climbing up to the ceiling and jumping onto them. That was great. But when eventually Ethan Page snakes a very good schoolboy roll up. He
knows how to do
all of his weight on the ankles of him folded over backwards. That was the best schoolboy roll up pinfall. All of them should be like that, by the way.
Yes.
All of them.
It looks like you're actually trying to win when you do them properly.
If you're gonna pin a guy, he doesn't have to be Femi. Any guy that gets pinned by that, or girl for that matter, should be pinned by a good schoolboy or schoolgirl roll up. And that was a very, very, very good one. So Femi in the penalty box, and then 30 seconds later, Ethan Page gets pinned, and he's like, "Oh no! Oh God! I have to get in that." And Femi in the cage, bring him! Like, that was just the best. He's so damn good at this. And they bit him in there. He just smacked him all over the place.
He
spends the rest of the match unconscious in the penalty box. And he gets up like, I have no idea where I am. But by that point, he already had 2 pinfalls.
Yes.
He was actually in the lead, in the lead with, hold on. It was him. He was tied with Javon Evans. Javon Evans and Ethan Page both had 2. Wesley and Nathan Frazer each had 1. And he goes in there. They're down. I'm like, how the hell is Femi gonna get 2 pinfalls in like 45 seconds, then 30 seconds, then 20 seconds? And it turns out how he's gonna do it is both at once by choke slamming Wesley and Nathan Frazer, then pinning them at the same time. That was great, but it left just enough time for Javon Evans to hit his big jumpy cutter.
The big jumpy cutter, yeah.
The big jumpy cutter. The vaunted, deadly big jumpy cutter on Femi. And he might have pinned him. I don't know. but he only got the 1.5 before the thing went off. Brilliant. And had they not chosen to do the exact same finish in the women's match, it would have been even better. But this was awesome. And here, let's manifest this with me, won't you? Femi beats Trick Williams at, obviously Trick Williams would later go on to beat Ridge Holland. Femi beats Trick Williams at New Year's Evil. Trick Williams debuts on the main roster at the Royal Rumble 3 weeks later. And then Femi holds the NXT title until Stand and Deliver 2026. I am being very, very generous by not having him hold the NXT title until Stand and Deliver 2036. So 2026. So a year and a half, let's say, almost a year and a half. So all he's got to do is he's got to break Adam Cole's record for longest reign, which is 403 days. If he can break that, then at Stand and Deliver 2026 is when he finally is toppled. By whom?
Javon Evans.
Javon Evans, the guy who almost won tonight's match. And if they are good enough, and they are not because they suck at this, then they will tie back into this moment where Javon Evans caught him with a big jumpy cutter and almost stole this match anyway. That was fantastic, and I think there's a really, really great thing here. I said I was only okay with Femi losing the North American title if either A, he was immediately called up to the main roster and given a mega push, or B, he was NXT champion by Christmas. Now, looks like I'm not going to get it by Christmas, but I might get it by
New Year, New You. Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Honestly, it's a good compromise. And if that's what we're getting, fine. I think Femi is honestly probably ready right now to just debut on the main roster in the Royal Rumble, eliminate 25 guys, beat
Cody and Gunther.
Beat Cody at WrestleMania, and then the night after WrestleMania, they should beat Gunther. He'll be able
to
Liv
beat Morgan.
He will win. He will win both the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber. He will then go on to the 2-night WrestleMania. On night 1, he beats Gunther. On night 2, he beats Cody, and he holds both of those titles until the end of time, because somehow somebody will have given him the Fountain of Youth, and he will live forever. And that's what I want.
It's crazy.
I am compromising when I say he'll just hold the title for over 403 days.
He's also going to unify the women's US and IC title belts immediately. It's so weird. But you had said a couple minutes ago that you hope they realize what a generational talent he is. I am more optimistic that they see it with him than others, because when he lost, they took him off television. And to me, that's an indicator of, we can't throw this guy into some intermediate program. Everything this guy has to do has to be important. And that's not true for every wrestler. And I don't mean they don't see other wrestlers that way. I mean, not every wrestler's character demands that level of, it's a high maintenance guy, right? It's like basically him and Gunther, who we've known him to be up until this Damian Priest feud or whatever. It's those guys who are so special and need to be that protected. Javon Evans is great. I loved the finish on this with him. Ethan Page, everybody here knows I'm a big fan of the guy. And everything he did in this, what an adhesive to this entire thing, right? Because there was a lot of great work being done by pretty much everybody in this, but from a storytelling glue that was running throughout this whole thing, Ethan Page, man, just shows up time after time after time with stuff like this of making things that don't make sense make more sense, and then making things that make sense pop out on screen. And the interactions with Oba, to your point, when he entered the ring, everybody said everything just changed, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this guy's not going to the penalty box, like all these things. Him with the desperation of the pulling of the ref out of the ring stuff, like, so good. And then yes, him just getting his ass kicked in the penalty box is great fun.
He's so great.
Great fun. But just every moment with him has nuance to it. There's never a time that guy is just doing wrestling moves ever. So I just love what we got from him in this, in a match where it's like, do we need to see Ethan Page in the title picture again? But he was so important to reasons why parts of this match worked. It really was delightful to watch. Yes. Really good stuff. Really good stuff in this.
Yeah, this was excellent. Like you said, they took him off TV. I am reminded of it's funny to me because they did the exact right thing to protect this other guy with the exact same thing that they did, and then months later, they decided to turn him into an absolute coward and an ineffectual loser who needs help to win everything. Gunther, when he lost to Sami Zayn, went away for well over a month, came back and won the King of the Ring tournament. And then he was barely on TV until he became the world champion by beating Damian Priest. And that is how you handle it. You say, okay, so how do we have a guy, quote unquote, fail up? How do you lose a mid-card title and then get in position to win a world title? Well, one of the things is you don't have to have him come out and cut a promo about how he lost the mid-card title. You just have him go away. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Eventually, that's a subliminal thing that you don't have to watch a guy acknowledge his own failure. He lost, and he's gone. When he lost to Tony D, there wasn't a big thing. He didn't come back and have to do anything after that. He lost to Tony D. He lost, and he went away. And this was a perfect amount of time for him to be gone. I do not know if that was like, okay, so you're going to lose the title to Tony D, but you're coming back at Deadline as a mystery fifth guy. If the Iron Survivor, you're going to win that. Like, if they had the plan set out that long ago, kudos to them. It does not appear that that's normally how they work. So I'm saying that this is a really excellent way of doing what they did with Obafemi. If he is a guy who then goes on at New Year's Evil and becomes the world champion, that it's honestly, as I think it was Ryan Cicchini says, they did what we spoke about 6 months ago. Oba will win against Trick, and Oba is the mountain to climb for Javon Evans. It's all right there. It is so beautiful, and it's Javon Evans gets 3 shots in about a year and a half to beat Obafemi. The first time he gets put down hard.
Swatted out of the air.
The second time he comes really close to winning, but still loses. At the third time, he finally beats him. And it's not like I don't want to see a guy lose and get an immediate rematch. I mean, he loses.
No, he learns.
He works his way back up, wins some kind of number 1 contenders match, gets another shot, comes this close and loses. And then after he comes that close, Oba just like, no, I beat you twice. You don't get another title shot. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? And maybe he's got to goad Obafemi into being confident enough to say, okay, yeah, I will give you that title shot. Let him hang himself with his own rope. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do in a long-term storyline with Javon Evans being the guy to chase the unbeatable monster, Obafemi. And I just hope that they're smart enough to do that.
Well, I'll say this. If you need help being goaded into confidence in the bedroom, BlueChew.com, not code Fightful, but we still have the ad, but we're going to play
Blue
the thing.
Chew, main event performance, main event confidence, and a main event deal. Go to BlueChew.com and use the code Fightful, and you will get Blue Chew with their first shipment for free. Shipment? Yeah, I said shipment. No waiting in line at the pharmacy, no awkward doctor's visits. You take their online exam, and then if approved, it's shipped straight to your door. That's right. Same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. but in a chewable form and much more affordable. How can you pass up on this? How can you pass up on that confidence? How can you pass up on that performance? How can you pass up on making your sex life better? That's what Blue Chew is here to do. You don't have to have a problem to use Blue Chew. Just get that additional performance. BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL.
So we're talking about the Eddy Thorpe and who attacked him. I hope it's not. I mean, I hope it's not Oba Femi, simply because that wouldn't make a lot of sense. My thing still is I still do hope it is Lexus King, just because him turning back heel would be best for him, and Eddy Thorpe turning back face would be best for him. So I hope that's it. But Ryan Cicchini says Ava got a secret and she's hiding footage. LOL. I think it is very possible it might be some kind of bloodline thing, a Hikuleo thing. Although I do think it's very convenient that Tonga Loa is now absent because of his torn bicep, and they might need a Tala Tonga. Like a Tonga that is not quite as vertically challenged. A Tonga that may be a little more rise above the competition. A Tala Tonga.
I just did a Blue Chew ad, and you couldn't have done your rising Tonga.
I mean, maybe
as a segue.
Also, I was really hoping that before Bronson Reed's ankle was turned to goo, and that they were going to induct him formally into the new bloodline and change his name to Bigatonga. I thought maybe they would do that. You know what I mean?
He is Big Bronson Reed after all, Putz.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, get in your super chats and your humper chats. We did get this very generous donation that I wanted to call out. Thank you so much for Ryan Sully, who said, "Hey Kate, hey Alex, no quarter catch crew showed out tonight, investing in some more Wren stock." We're going to talk about her in a little bit. She was a major factor in that women's one, but Blurry Boys continue to shine. Right winners for the Iron Survivors. Ridge and Trick was thumbs down. Do we get new champions at New Year's Evil? Cheers. Keep up the good work. Well, you had said Oba, and I think that's a real possibility. I also think it's a possibility on the women's side, and there's something really fun about, like, what if we have Oba and Giulia as the champions of this promotion or whatever? Like, there's some really, really, really fun stuff that can be done with those two leading the pack. So I am optimistic, cautiously and probably foolishly, but I am optimistic about what this might look like at the beginning of 2025 versus what this year has looked like. There have been some improvements that if they keep riding the wave with them, I think will be good.
With this whole transfer portal opening up in January, I do think it is very possible that both Trick Williams and Roxanne Perez are shoring up some holes on the main roster.
If they're gonna do a transfer portal, I need Roxanne Perez to be like, SmackDown Nation, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. I want it to be like they just got drafted or transferred from college of like, Raw Country, I'm here.
Yep, that's good. Yeah, and Aubrey and Dad.
Perez, two-time NXT Women's Champion and standout at NXT. Is transferred to. Give us the whole treatment of college sports.
So this is I believe a new super chatter here. I've seen them in the chat tonight. Aubrey and Dad talk wrestling, which is the cutest thing ever.
Okay, now I'm really glad this PLE was good because normally we're sour, but I want Aubrey and Dad talking wrestling to enjoy.
Unless it's Aubrey, the ref from AEW, and her very old father. I'm not really sure.
That's so sweet. That's
also sweet. But whatever they say, and this is smart of them. That WWE gets stuck in gimmicks. 5+ special guest referees. Now every show has a mystery attacker. Got to mix it up. And then says, still love the show. So you're not quite at our particular spot. But, You're coming around to our point. There, it's good.
I mean, we had an attack yesterday on the Street Profits, right? Like they have, I would say all of American television, but certainly in the context of WWE, have fallen like enslaved to certain tropes, and that is definitely one of them. It's a little more forgivable to me on NXT because they said about 2 years ago, if you're in the parking lot, you're going to get mugged. Like, that's a part of the show. It's happening. Backstage is now becoming very dangerous. So I have almost just accepted it more because it's so regular, but it does get kind of annoying when it's happening so congruent across Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and multiple times on NXT within the same couple of weeks. So I agree with that, Chad. And my God, special guest referees are like a top 3 least favorite stipulation of mine. So when we had 5 of them and multiple ones didn't even really come into play or make sense, I was rolling my eyes. And I still maintain that Seth Rollins didn't serve enough with his look. I won't say that about before, but like I was expecting more of a ridiculous outfit. So
I'm sorry to get hung up on the wholesomeness quotient here, but Aubrey and Dad Talk Wrestling says, thanks for reading our super chat. No, that's what you pay the money for. So we will read it. Are you sending in money to other channels and they don't read your stuff? You're only send money here because we'll definitely read it. And then Aubrey's Castle says, me, Aubrey, and my dad is so funny. I love him. So we made a channel together. This is too wholesome for here.
I made a show with my big brother, so I get it.
Yeah, basically. It's kind of the way it works. Tim McFall says, this is Bizarro Land. HBK actually booked really well. I'm so confused. Both Iron Survivor matches were awesome, and a couple of stars were born in the tag match. There you go. Hey, I'm going to talk about those two things back to back later. So let's skip that, and we're going to go on to the Lola Vice and Jaida Parker match, the underground match, which is fine. It was very good. I don't know what to say about it. Like these are two talented women. I don't need to see. I understand it's a thing that happens, but I don't need to see I was going to backfist you, and instead I backfisted a ring post. And
we've seen it a lot.
My hand is broken. I've seen that so many times. You know what I mean? Like, so it just feels like I watch too much wrestling, and I have been watching so much wrestling constantly for so many years that maybe I've seen that spot 6 times in the last 3 years, but that's too many for me. Because
it's been a lot. We've seen it a lot. Seen it a lot. I agree with you on that. I will say, going into this and coming out of this, my qualm with it was the same, in that I felt like the match that we just saw should have been the blow-off. And that the underground match is not more violent than the match that we saw at the 2300 arena. Right. And it wasn't going to be. Absent of that context, I thought this was very good. I thought this was one of Lola Vice's better selling performances. She did a really, really good job with getting her butt kicked in this. So I think she looked great. I think it's kind of cool that they've made this her match. Like she did it with Shayna. She's done it here. So I think that's special. I do think it makes sense from the fact that the face got the comeuppance on the heel and we're good there. But we were talking a little bit before we went on, like it does feel like Jaida Parker, everybody's in developmental. So this isn't meant to be an insult, because I think Lola Vice is extremely talented, but Jaida Parker is just kind of separating herself from the pack in a lot of ways in her star power and her wrestling ability, and how quickly she's picked up on this in that class of NIL athletes who weren't really coming with a wrestling background. She is taken to this like a duck to water. She really, really has. I was I thought this match was quite good. I thought this presentation of the underground match was much better than the last one we saw. Even little things like the canvas being that slate blue gray instead of black. Do you remember that with Shayna? It was just, everything looked so weird because all of it was dark and there were no ring ropes to break up the color. So it was just very odd. And I do appreciate that we've seen that ring post spot so many times. It felt like the element of the ring post was coming into play more often. Whereas opposed to the match with Shayna, it almost felt like it didn't matter that there were no ropes or something. Like I felt like there wasn't a lot of violence that was endemic to the environment that they're in, which to me is kind of the point of one of these underground matches. Right. So this was a step in the right direction for these types of matches. I got to say, like, we talk a lot about how even though the booking is weird, there's a lot of strengths with the women as far as screen time and the talent depth and all those things. Very cool that women get underground matches more than the men, honestly. And I can't remember a time where I've seen a match type immediately be established with women and men, like the Iron Survivor. I was thinking about that while I was watching this. I was like, it was always, and it's the first women's TLC match, and it's the first women's Royal Rumble. This is kind of the first match type that I can remember that both the men and the women got it from the first time. So I just, that means something to me. That means something to me. Yeah. So it's just cool to watch the women show out. But the wrestling fan in me kind of wishes Jaida Parker won this whole feud. The smarter fan in me knows the babyface is probably going to win the blow off. Right. No, just felt like the ECW one probably should have been third, and this one should have been the stepping stone to get there.
Right. To me. I was rooting for Jaida Parker because I think she's amazing. I think while Lola Vice is very talented and I think certainly has a future in this business, I just think Jaida Parker's ceiling is crazy high. Crazy high. Like Tim McFall says, Jaida Parker will main event a WrestleMania. I mean, it's not out of her own possibility. Like she's so charismatic. She will carry a story on the mic. You know what I mean? With her just her personality. She reminds me so much of NXT heel Bianca Belair, where even when she wasn't saying words, you knew that there was so much. There was a whole world going on inside that character, and she's so great at that. And then I just think that she's picked up everything so fast. But not only that, I was rooting for her because Lola Vice doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Yes.
As far as why I need to have another match here, because Jaida Parker beat you. It's a hardcore match. Weapons are legal. It does not matter what weapon she hit you with. All weapons are legal. Like, if she could have chopped your arm off with a machete, that's legal in that match. You lost. You agreed to that match stipulation. She hit you in the head with a brick. In any other kind of match, that's frowned upon. But in that match, it's as legal as a headlock, as they used to say on commentary. And so her coming back and like, you hit me in the head with a brick. And Jaida be like, yeah, bitch, that's what the rules of the match were. I beat you. Like, that should be the end of the thing. Like, if you wanted to figure out a different way for them to get to this match, that's fine. But Lola ruining Jaida Parker's possibilities of being in the Iron Survivor match twice because she can't handle the fact that she took a loss in a hardcore match doesn't make me want to root for Lola Vice. It makes her seem like she just can't handle losing. And that's not a thing that, like, I mean, everyone loses in this business. You got to figure out a way to, like, how do I build from that and move on with my life to a different opponent? And she's like, no, I must defeat you in my match, the one that I'm good at. And that feels like that's bad for her.
Like she has some sour grapes about it, which we've never would be associated with or have ourselves. We would certainly never would we ever make it a thing. That is a very, very, very fair point, and I agree. I do think with Jaida, what you said about her ability to carry things and the rapid rate at which she's improving in the ring, something that we consistently criticize is like how corny some of the backstage segments can feel and how every heel has the certain cadence. Like, for whatever reason, Jada's just like bucked that trend entirely. And she stands out even more because of that. Because she's not like, I'm a bad girl, so now I wear black lipstick and I talk like this. Like she doesn't have that about her. It's so refreshing and different. So absolutely adore that. Absolutely adore that.
Luis says they are 1-1. I think there'll be a third match very soon. They didn't have a match against each other before the hardcore match? Like one that like ended in some kind of like non-finish or something?
Was it a tag program that got us there?
But they didn't like each other, and then they were forced to be a tag team, and then Jaida walked out on Lola, and then they had the hardcore match. That's it.
That is a weird escalation of things.
They're going to have a New Year's resolution match, as MD Macaroni says it. It's going to be a New Year's resolution match. That's what it's going to be.
That is what it's going to be.
Oh boy! But listen, Lola. This was a match where they decided, okay, we're gonna see how well both of you sell, because Jaida was selling the leg and Lola was selling the hand and the arm, and they did a really good job.
They did.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like more and more, I just have to like accept the fact that this is wrestling school that's being shown on television and on the Peacock network. Like it's wrestling school. We have to see how you work doing certain things. So this is the match where you show us how good you are. This is your test. This is the test that we are giving you. You practiced, and now here is the test. The test is, how well do you perform selling a limb through an entire match? And I thought that both women passed with flying colors.
I agree. And that's also not the easiest thing in the world to do. So I'm glad it's something that they were able to incorporate to a very high level. Like none of it felt like, oh, my leg, what will I ever do? Like it all, I'm someone, as much as I appreciate a good HBK against Hulk Hogan sell, I'm a proportionate sell gal at the end of the day, because it doesn't ruin my believability of things. So I'll take it. I'll take it.
There's something listed here that says Andre Chase recap, and I did not watch that. I don't know what that is. Was there an Andre Chase recap?
Is there an Andre Chase recap?
There you go. So the thing that
I'm not gonna lie, I had commentary tonight at Excite, so when I came back, I was doing a lot of catch up, and there were things that I likely missed, and the Andre Chase recap was probably one of them. Sorry.
Did they show Bodie Hayward? Did I miss Bodie Hayward?
I hope not.
Because if I miss Bodie Hayward, then I guess I'll go back and watch. But if I didn't miss Bodie Hayward, then I really honestly don't care. I watch all the episodes so that I don't have to watch highlight packages and stuff I don't like about.
Well, Alex, here's what we'll do. We're going to say that we're talking about it while this ad is going on. So then we'll say that we covered it. But nobody will hear our analysis.
Bet Online AG. All of our odds that we've ever gotten from wrestling, MMA, boxing have come from Bet Online. We are so proud to be doing business with them. A lot of you guys are saying, wait. You can bet on pro wrestling? Yes, you can bet on pro wrestling. In fact, I've got it at a minus 200. This lawnmower outside my window isn't going to stop by the time I do this ad read. You hear that? I would have made some money at Bet Online AG with that prop. Go check out the Bet Online wrestling odds. That's the only ones you have ever seen on Fightful, because we only trust Bet Online AG. They're 25 plus years. They're safe and secure environment. Their high limits, their credit card acceptance is all unmatched. You can bet big with their rebet functionality as well. The earliest lines that you're going to find, whether it be wrestling, MMA, boxing, or other sports, Bet Online. Check them out.
So that's what I think of Andre Chase.
And me too.
Sorry we missed this. I was piecemealing things because our Excite went long, so I had to catch up on the men's Iron Survivor match, and in the jumping around, I think things got a little bit messed up. But
all right,
use Bet Online AG to bet on wrestling. So there you go. And with all the money you win, might as well go over to FightfulSelect.com and subscribe. I'm just saying, you get me and Alex reviewing pay-per-views and PLEs that are normally covered on the main channel. We cover them on Fightful Select, but because we are your NXT hosts, we're doing this on the main. But if you like what you see, go over to FightfulSelect.com and subscribe to that. We'll also be losing our minds about the Continental Classic on AEW starting tomorrow. So that'll have a special edition at a time to be determined. But
we are
watching
now
Alex do math about round robin tournaments is a hobby of mine.
We're about halfway through the C2 already.
That's wild.
Stuff's shipping up. Like, people have had 3 matches.
Like, I realized that with Kyle Fletcher today. I was like, holy cow.
So like this, we're getting into it. Like, now everything's starting to shape up. It's starting to look like we might be able to pick out who might be in favored to win each league and whatnot. So we're going to do all of that bracketology tomorrow night. So look for that. Now, one of my favorite things that's ever been said by anybody on the NXT program was said tonight by Nathan Frazer. Right before they went out to get into their thing. I think he legit broke his nose in the Iron Survivor match.
Yeah.
It's all taped up and he's got cotton shoved up his nostrils and his ribs are taped. And Axion's like, where have you been? Sorry, mate, I had to go get taped up. That Iron Survivor match. And it's like, yeah, I saw. It's like he says about Iron Survivor match. Oh, but dude, what the hell? Like, oh, but dude, what the hell is one of my? It's the perfect encapsulation of what everybody in that match thought when Oba Femi was walking toward them.
Yes.
Oba, dude, what the hell?
What the hell,
like,
man?
How am I supposed? I was planning for Eddy Thorpe.
Yeah.
And I got Oba Femi. I don't know how to do that now. And I think it was so great. But here's the deal. This match with NQCC was excellent.
Yes.
Tavion Heights, I think, has a crazy high ceiling. I don't they need to like start really amping up what they do with him specifically. He's really
great. He's great.
Myles Borne, I don't think I don't know how you can be a wrestler when you are deaf. I honestly, and not only at all, but as good as this dude is,
yeah.
How do you pick out that dude could never have a match with John Cena.
I was just about to say, like, the way people call things.
People call things in the ring, like, and everything is called in a way that, like, you can't read the dude's lips because he's buried his lips in your ear while he's throwing you out of the corner. Like, I don't know how he does it, but he is really, really good. Really, really good.
Genuinely very inspired. Like, they acknowledge it on the show, usually with cheeky jokes, but when I was watching it today, I had the same thought you did of, like, how do you as a wrestler not only execute as well as he executes moves, but be able to pick up on so many nuances that are auditory when you can't hear. Like, it's really, really incredible.
The obvious thing of, like, here and here, these 2 people in tag match, 4 people that need to be able to communicate in a split second, in a shorthand, exactly what they're about to do so they don't kill each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if I think I'm taking a move from you, a specific move from you, I'm going to bump in a certain way that I know is going to protect me. But if I think I'm taking that move from you and you do a different move to me and I'm not prepared, then I'm screwed. So here's the thing is that I'm how it must be for a person who's wrestling against him, who is used to calling a match a certain way and just has to not do that. And sometimes with some of these people, I mean, it's different in NXT, but some of these people are used to it for decades. That's what how they've been doing it since they were 15, 16 years old, and now they're 40. And they, like, you can't just change that on the fly, or maybe you can, but what an undertaking that would be mentally.
Yes.
So it's crazy to me that how far he has come, and I think that I wish the absolute best for him moving forward. He's got a lot of talent, very, very good. Both of these guys are excellent, and I saw a whole bunch of people saying they should have won this match, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because
I think there's a segment of people that thought I don't think that they should have won this match, but I thought they might, because I think there is a desperate need on the main roster for tag team baby faces. And I thought maybe Nathan Frazer getting his butt kicked as hard as he did, coming out with a broken nose and taped ribs, was protection for when they lost. But I just want to call this out. Allie, who's, if you aren't familiar, one of the just best humans in the world, but also a wrestler and trained, said that she had a blind wrestler train with her and 2 deaf guys as well, and they were all great talents, and that it's all body language, which makes sense. What an incredible thing. What an incredible thing. But to your point, I am good with them looking this great in defeat, because they are kind of just getting back on screen very, very recently. I wouldn't mind if they were the ones to do it. I would like a more properly told story than was leading into this. But I think there's a lot of people that are ready for the Fraxium call-up, and that's part of why they said this. But we could see all the titles change at New Year's Evil and get a bunch of call-ups. Like, there's a lot of possibilities for that.
If New Year's Evil, did they tell us what day that was?
The evileth of January
7th, right? It's in LA the night after, right? The night after the first Netflix Raw.
That sounds right.
That's a month.
I'm going to double check you on that, but yes.
You got a month. Work. Tell the story. Do the work. Give them a rematch. Figure out a way to get them a rematch. And if they have a rematch at New Year's Evil, I'm all for Tavion Heights and Myles Borne winning. But this is my call out to Luis, our amazing moderator, and the person who's our third member of this broadcast. He's our producer who does amazing work for us. This is me calling out to him saying, please tell me how many tag team matches this tag team has won. Tell me how many tag team matches Tavion Heights and Myles Borne have won on television. Level Up counts, but only because I want you to tell me if they've won any matches on Level Up. I don't actually count it because NXT is NXT and Level Up is Level Up. But
they did qualify for this, so I have less of a problem with that. But I understand the greater picture of what you're saying. But
you had Vic Joseph and Booker T lying to me about all the momentum this team has. And they won a battle royal in which one of them was eliminated 20 minutes before the match ended. It's not the same thing as them having been on a hot streak. You know what I mean? Like, you
and I were also not the only ones that had an issue with how unceremoniously Tavion Heights was eliminated from that battle royal. Like, and Myles Borne looked awesome at the end of it, but we were not the only ones who were like, they already didn't have the momentum they were pretending that they had when they told us that. And on top of that, Tavion Heights didn't really get to show out the way he's capable of. And I know he's capable of it because look at tonight's match, right? So there's a whole mix-up of factors of why this would probably be too soon.
Yep.
But I think the people that were rooting for it saw there are people that are maybe less detail-oriented than us that saw them show out and were like, strap up those guys. You know, like that's a strap up those guys performance and send Fraxium to the main roster. I agree with you. Tell the story to get there over the course of the next month so that it's more satisfying. And I'm genuinely rooting for those guys to win because they picked up wins against other people, etc.
They are 1-1 in tag team matches since Tavion Heights got back from Japan.
They've been 50-50 in these guys for 2 matches.
I thought you were going to say they've been 50-50 in these guys for too long. And I was like, they're 50-50 with them for 2 matches. You jumped ahead to the best thing. Listen,
Swerve.
I just want the story of them climbing to the ranks to they get the tag title shot and then they win it. I don't feel like you should ever with an act as new as this one. I don't feel like you should ever be like, they're champs. Now let's start telling the story.
Yes.
Like you tell the story before them leading to them getting it is a story in itself. But I thought they're excellent here, and Nathan Frazer being beat to absolute crap through the whole match, having to sell it was really good. I believe this was the match in which Booker T developed a new conspiracy theory that ballet is not real. There's no such thing as ballet, because he's like, man, this ain't ballet. This ain't ballet. This ain't ballet. Ballet. This is as real as it gets. Which means if this is not ballet and this is real, then ballet is fake. So like, you don't you ever bring up Mikhail Baryshnikov to Booker T. He'll lose it on you. He'll go completely crazy.
It's like flat earthers who think Australia is not real. Booker T's thing is he thinks ballet is not real.
Yes, that's.
I also gotta say, do you know how hard on the body ballet is?
Yeah.
Dancers retire by the time they're like 35. Can we stop with the ballet slander? It's always, this isn't ballet to people. I'm like, ballet ruins people's bodies. Pick another metaphor, man.
I want you to take a look at the toes of a veteran ballerina and tell me whether or not you want to do that to your feet.
It's still real to Luis, damn it.
That is very funny. That is very
football
funny.
Players do ballet. Thank you very much. Like,
yeah,
I find a new phrase. Ballet's really hard.
Right. OTM came out during the match to like just assert to themselves as that we are here. And I suppose maybe that's the next one. Like, if you wanted to tell me OTM gets built up over the next month and they win the titles at New Year's Evil, and then NQCC gets built up and they get the titles off of them at, let's say, Stand and Deliver, okay, I think Lucian Price or Lucien Prince, whichever. The one who's not named after a Denver sports team. Not Bronco, Lucian, that guy. He is really, really, he's like, the stuff, the way he moves, it does not look like he looks like somebody shot up a human with like super soldier serum. He moves too quickly. Like all of his joints are more fluid than regular people's joints would be. It's crazy. That guy's awesome. You want to tell me you're going to actually tell the story of those guys being the big bads to finally knock off Fraxium? Fraxium goes up. Cool. And then you tell the story of NQCC, of Heights and Borne climbing that mountain for a couple of months to be the ones to topple them. I'm fine with that too. All those things. We gotta figure out what the tag division in NXT is.
Yeah,
another team that if they're gonna actually separate them entirely from Chase U, I'm still riding high on Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne as a tag team. They are excellent together. So, like, make them into a real, honest-to-God tag team. Have them chase a big bad. There's a lot of fun stuff.
Strap up, Duke Hudson, please.
Yeah.
I don't think the Battle Royal set up. I don't have clarity around the hierarchy of the NXT tag division because of that Battle Royal. I'll put it that way. Like, yeah. They have some work to do on telling me who are the prime players in it. This is where Idris and Malik being out sucks, because they were kind of like right on that middle tier. I feel like of that match with Fraxium was so good. Our Blurry Boys, like them swinging back around to win it would have been great, but it's a bummer that they're injured right now.
So speaking of the Blurry Boys, Fraxium as they call them, but they're the Blurry Boys to me. They always will be. Their entrance tonight, with Frazer barely able to walk, doing it kind of like blurry and stop motion, was amazing.
Flurry.
They are up for a Fightful Award for Best Men's Tag Team Match of the Year. and it is not among their top 10 matches to me. Not even close. Like, they've had so many great matches. Like, every match they have is excellent. I put tonight's over the one that's nominated. All of the matches they had versus Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin are above that.
Yeah.
The one they had that with Malik Blade and Ederson Ofe is above the one that's nominated. Like, every time they have a match, it's fantastic. The one with Andre Chase and Ridge Holland does not crack my top 10. I'm sorry. Like,
I didn't realize it was that. For some reason, I thought it was the one against the Rascals. Didn't they have the one against the Rascals?
The one against the I didn't even think about the Rascals. The Rascals one.
That was crazy.
One.
Yeah.
The one against MSK. Just like that was so freaking good.
Yeah.
The one that is nominated is the one that had Ridge Holland in it. Are you kidding me? Like this they have been putting on bangers for a year straight. The main roster is in dire need of babyface tag teams. They just turned DIY heel. Put them on a main roster and have them be built up. Of course, we know how the current regime there books tag teams, so they probably won't be.
You know what they say,
good.
Alex?
Yeah.
It ain't ballet.
Yeah.
Booking wrestling, it just ain't ballet.
It isn't. It's real.
It's not.
It's as real as it gets.
This is gonna be my new thing, trademark logo.
Yeah, good. Wesley and Javon brawl backstage because Javon, I guess, was too positive about after having lost the Iron Survivor match, and Wesley was very angry with him, and so that match is going to continue. They're going to have a match on that feud's going to continue. They're going to have a match on Tuesday.
I do love that Oba Femi is giving main character energy, and everybody knows it. Like, right. Wesley is like, you should be mad about this with Oba Femi. Like, everybody is reacting. It's Oba's world. We're just living in it. That's how it should be. God bless. Mm-hmm. I am so his haircut. It takes me still a good 5 seconds to realize who's on screen. It is it is. Some people have transformative haircuts, and his was one of them.
Yeah, it's true.
It works for him. It looks great, but it's just a very, very different look.
Luis says that Fraxium, Blurry Boys, will be right alongside Los Hermanos Chavez from CMLL as his vote for Tag Team of the Year. I don't watch enough CMLL. My vote in the Fightful Awards for Tag Team of the Year went to Blurry Boys. I don't think that there's any team that's been as consistent as them since the Dusty Classic, which was in February or whatever.
I would say Linda and Sheila would be mine.
Well, okay, yes, true. Speaking of things that are not consistent, Trick Williams and title reigns, and
they're consistently not great for him. They're consistently unfair booking.
There were too many major podcasters calling for Ridge Holland to win this match for my liking. I'm surprised they did not have him come out and cut a promo about Big E being kicked out of the New Day and say it brought a tear to my eye because, of course, I was the one that caused that. Because they are diving so deep into this, like, you know what he's capable of. This man has ended careers. This man has almost ended lives, and they're making this true horrible accident into what his character is. And I was never really cool with that at all. But now they're really leaning into it for this particular match. And Trick is a 2-time champion. Hopefully soon to lose his second championship there. He was a North American champion for a day and a half. Like, they see, hey, this guy's over. Let's give him a title belt. We don't really know how to book a title reign for him. So the title reign will feel very lackluster, and then we'll take it off of him in weird ways. So if it all ends for him in NXT with a loss to Oba Femi, and they actually figure out a way to book a really good match for him in that match with Oba Femi, and then he goes up to the main roster. Hopefully they see how over he is as a talent.
Yes.
And they'll figure out a way to get him into the right spot up there, but it does not feel like they have ever adequately capitalized on the crazy amount of momentum just with the fans getting behind him that he got a year and a half ago.
It felt like when Ethan Page came in, they were like, we have a new top heel. And they never really figured out the pacing of how that should work. Because they had the whole multi-man situation and the depth of the men's singles roster in NXT, it's just not that deep right now. So the first time around, it felt like it was just poorly booked. The second time around, it felt like that. We talked about it kind of ad nauseum, but here we are again, so it bears repeating. His first title defense was against Joe Coffey on a house show. His second one was against Ethan Page, and his third one he lost to Ethan Page. Mm-hmm. So that's not a good reign. Here we are, and it feels like the ingredients are not there because they went to the Ethan Page well so persistently, and first that was the well. That was there was one boy in the well, and it was Ethan Page, and they pulled him out and they saved him. God bless. But it just doesn't feel like they've had the depth to build a real feud. The Ridge Holland thing seems so out of nowhere because I don't know if it was because that ambulance match was not very good, but it never felt like we got a proper resolution with Andre Chase. Like I didn't feel satisfied by that ending. And then they very quickly were like, you're in the world title picture now. And here's Eric Bischoff. And I was like, what is this? Like, It did not feel like there was heat between the two of them. And I don't blame them. I actually thought the go home segment, despite Bischoff being in it, I'm sorry, not that he was in it, that he was shoehorned into it, was decent. I felt like Ridge got some shots at it on the mic. I thought Trick saying like you're vanilla and boring or whatever was him like playing into what people have said about Ridge in the past. So like I actually thought that was pretty decent, but it was just way too little, way too late, and it never felt like we have a feud on our hands. And the other thing is I'm watching this video package. They really love going to this there's one difference between you and me thing. And I'm like, there are so many differences between Ridge Holland and Trick Williams, like in every way, shape, and form. And they're like, the one difference between you and me is this thing. And I'm like, they are the most opposite characters, not just because of heel face, but just the way that they participate in wrestling could not be more different character-wise, stylistically, whatever. And they're like, the one thing about you and me that's different. I'm like, everything's different about you guys, and that's okay. But they love going back to that one line. So I don't think there was anything wrong with the match. I actually thought this was a better showing for Ridge Holland for sure. But it's hard to win back something when the story hasn't had the emotional punch that it needs, because what story are you then telling? There's a very small percentage of performers in the world that can win that back. So this is one of those things where it was like, there was nothing wrong with it per se, but there also was nothing right with it. And it was, I felt like it could have ended about 4 minutes earlier as well. This was just, unfortunately didn't click in. And I don't think it's really the fault of the performers involved. I just feel like the story was not well built.
No, yeah, I agree. Ridge seemed to have been put in this position by virtue of him insulting Bubba Ray Dudley.
How dare you besmirch the name of Bubba Ray Dudley, who was not going to take a roster spot for one of the kids until he decided to. Yeah. Until
he decided to do that. But during Halloween Havoc, in the pre-show, he talked crap to Bubba Ray Dudley, and then he won the match with Andre Chase, and he came back to talk crap to Bubba Ray Dudley. And then after the match, he attacked Trick Williams, and Bubba Ray Dudley came out and like, all right, let's have a tag match with you and your longtime best friend Ethan Page.
Yeah,
and
it just felt like it had nothing to do with them.
None of it. Like it didn't. None of that made a lot of sense. And like Trick, I think, is a guy who needs I think Trick is a guy who can have great matches with great dance partners.
Yes, agreed.
I thought he had some excellent matches with Ilya Dragunov.
Mm-hmm. And
Dragunov's been and 1.5, let's say. Like some of the matches that were not laid out well, not by them, but by just because, we build this as the match to end all matches, knowing full well we were going to do a cage match in 2 weeks. Yeah. So we booked them to hold back weirdly. But the whole match you were talking about, this is it. The last match. These two men will never lay eyes upon each other after today, provided, of course, that both of them survive. And then they just did like a 15-minute regular run-of-the-mill match, and it didn't do anything because they knew they were going to do stuff. You know what I mean? So
Trick has to have great dance partners and ballet partners. Ballet partners,
yes. Yeah. Dragunov and him had some really, really great matches.
Yes. Yes, they did.
I kind of feel shortchanged if we move on to him and he just loses to Oba and he moves up. We never got a Wes Lee versus him. I think Wes Lee and heel Wes Lee and Trick Williams could have had a really excellent match. We never got that.
I agree. We
never got it. It seemed like a foregone conclusion. We were definitely getting that, and then we went back to Ethan Page again when it didn't feel like Ethan Page was in the position to get another one of those matches. And then Ridge Holland, which was like, Ridge Holland is not the type of dude to have a world title type match with. And it had not worked out well for the way that they book him. And also, when he won it back, it felt like we were counting down the days until they took it off him again because of the first time where it just didn't feel like they really had anything for him. You know what I mean? And so now he's perhaps in a month losing the title to Oba Femi and going to the main roster, where I hope they will actually be able to do something with him. But this match did not grab me in any way. He won it. He kicked out of the Rampage or whatever the hell he calls that thing now, from Ridge Holland and hit him with a running knee, and that was it. Okay.
Yeah, this match was just there. I agree with you. The Wes Lee stuff, he was a favorite of mine going into this before the Oba Femi stuff developed for sure. But I do agree with you that I feel shortchanged by that. But I'll tell you what I'm not shortchanged by. My NordVPN subscription service. But I'll tell you what I am shortchanged by once again. I think Sean was cleaning up some of the ad reads in this and deleted the new ones. So you're going to get a retro NordVPN ad.
Nice.
Right here, right now, next.
Buying pay-per-views on NordVPN.com/Fightful is going to enhance your pay-per-view buying process. Now, one subscription to NordVPN has so many different benefits, but if you're a big pay-per-view buyer like myself, UFC, boxing, pro wrestling, all that good stuff, any combination of the three, if they're doing a fight circus or something like that, this subscription will pay for itself after 1 or 2 pay-per-view buys. Change your virtual location, pay for it at the prices that other people are paying for it in the UK, in Australia, etc., and you can get different interfaces. Maybe you don't like Peacock and you want to check out the WWE Network the way that it used to be, the way that it was designed to be, the easy navigation, so on and so forth. Maybe you want to watch AEW without commercials. Maybe there's some other overseas services that you can't subscribe to and you want access to them. NordVPN.com/Fightful gives you that with a great deal and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Even better, 24/7 tech support, so if you have trouble navigating any of it, they can help you out. Fastest VPN on the planet, NordVPN.com/Fightful.
Not the Wayback Machine on the Nord ones, but you know what it doesn't have is the theme that I dance to backstage. So that's very disappointing. But hey, if you are saving so much money with NordVPN and you're like, I want to subscribe because I've used this code Fightful and it saved me so much money. FightfulSelect.com, but also the Fightful Awards, which we've referenced a couple times coming up. if you want to sponsor them, if you have a podcast, if you have a brand, if you've got a small business, if you've got a big business that you want to tell the man, hey, throw some of your money at Fightful. Let me tell you about the Fightful Awards. You can email me at kate@fightful.com and we can get you set up. But we have over 500,000 followers on social media combined between the Fightful Twitter/X account, which just broke 200,000 followers. We're at almost 122,000 subscribers here on YouTube as well. And then Sean has over 300,000 followers himself. So tons of exposure with those. Over 35,000 viewers last year across platforms. We're anticipating even more than that because our numbers have grown. You get an on-air read. You get social media call-outs. You get your brand included in the description of the episode, both on audio platforms and on YouTube and in the promotional material. So tons of value as we are coming down the home stretch for those Fightful Awards. A lot of creators have sponsored us, and that just means so much that you guys feel like associating yourselves with our brand. So we will give you back all the love we can for throwing your hard-earned money behind us. But, the chat is talking about this. We forgot to talk about this moment in the match. Yeah. The neck caught between the ropes thing. That got me, Alex. That freaked me out. Yeah. After it happened, I was like, right. I was like, I think this referee would be acting more urgently if his air supply was genuinely getting cut off.
Right.
But
when he did it, the way that he did it, like, I'm being thrown toward the ropes. I'm gonna grab the middle one with my bottom hand and the top one with my top hand over here. I'm gonna stick my head in here as I roll over it. I'm like, nobody does that. No one. If you're just wrestling, you go over the top rope or you go between the middle and the. You don't like.
Well, some of us were eating a big bowl of pasta, Alex, and maybe they weren't watching as closely as you were. Maybe they finished their independent wrestling commentary gig, and I was eating my pasta and putting my sauce on it at my friend's house who I'm staying at. And I just wanted to eat and enjoy my pasta while watching wrestling. So I wasn't looking between the ropes, Alex.
Thank you for clarifying that you were at your friend's house, because I wondered if you were watching this match at an Olive Garden. Like,
I was having my unlimited breadsticks.
I mean, okay, fine.
She just made me a lot of pasta, and I love her.
I was watching it going, that seems unnecessary. And as soon as the ref was like doing what the ref was doing, and Trick was like balancing one foot, if you were trying to get out of that, you would put both feet up on the apron. You would stand up. You would be able to. He wasn't really attempting to get out of it. He was playing it as a moment. And then Ridge, because Ridge seems like the kind of guy who doesn't push the envelope when it comes to rules breaking, just sits in the middle of the ring and waits for him to get out of the predicament. And then the match continues, and none of that had any bearing on the rest of the match.
That's my only thing, was it's not like Ridge immediately went after his neck for it, but I do appreciate that they tried something new, and it got me.
Yeah.
As I was watching at the Olive Garden where I am family.
Right. So Dad says Olive Garden, and Aubrey said Slay. Aubrey is 9, so this is good.
She's up late. I love it.
This didn't make a lot of sense to me. Why you would include this? For this is not a pivotal turning point of the match.
This should have been a near fall, like something. Trick should have gone for a pile driver or something. This
should have been the turning point of the match. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, Trick has to like work his way back in. I guess the point was that he got the Rampage, or whatever the hell he calls it now, on the announce desk on Tuesday, and so his neck is he's got a boo boo in his neck, and so now this further accentuates the boo boo. I guess, but like that's not how they played the rest of the match, though.
I want that worked into a promo so bad. I laid you out on that announce table, and you'll never recover from the boo boo. I will. You'll never forget the day.
He got an ouchie. So there were 2 promos tonight. Two promo vignettes, or Lexis King wandering the streets of Minneapolis, talking about how cold it is and how I'm gonna do things that my dad never did. I'm gonna be more like, listen, man. For better or for worse, Brian Pillman has an indelible mark. Brian Pillman Sr. has an indelible mark on this business, and people who, aren't even born yet, who are wrestling fans, will be talking about the legacy of Brian Pillman Sr. I do not think anyone will be talking about the legacy of Lexis King, just because until they figure out a way to really change this whole thing, because the idea of I'm not my dad, I just stop talking about my dad. No one is comparing you to Brian, because you're not going by Brian Pillman Jr. anymore. You changed your name when you came in, and then you were the skeevy dude who hit on women and also liked hair metal and hated beat boops. And now you're like, golly gosh, gee whiz, I sure do want to play by the rules a lot. And you didn't, there was no bridge between I hate beat boops and I want to play by the rules a lot. There was no bridge. You were just there. You hopped in a transfer portal that went from one side of the river to the other. But there's a reason why it's called a journey, because we see you change and grow over the course of the journey. You just stopped being one thing and started being another. And I just don't think that's good. And this promo, by the way, told us nothing new about him or what his plans are or anything.
I do. Not only is there not a bridge between him being a heel and a face, but there's no bridge to. It feels like he came in with those really cool vignettes that were about his dad and not wanting to be his dad. And then there was 10 months. And then now they're picking up the story that they told 10 months ago. So there's not even, you're right in that there hasn't been any transformation. For me, this would be much more effective if, on the way I felt like there was any danger that he was turning into his dad, because now he's resisting something that's not true. If that makes sense. I don't want to turn into my dad. Well, you haven't even been close to that. So I don't feel like you're in peril of becoming that, because you've never shown me the ways that you were like him, unless there was a part of Brian Pillman's career where he just hated EDM music. I don't know if that was, if I missed that part. So, but he was never the unhinged loose cannon guy. So because there was never a detriment there, I'm not invested in his journey of resisting that, because we were never even close. So,
hopefully his plan is to shave the beard and change the hair a little bit, because whenever I look at him, I see the guy who used to creep on girls backstage and also hates beat boops. If you want to change who you are as a character, change what you look like as a character, especially if we associate the ridiculous beard with this thing that we've always hated about. From the first vignette that we ever saw of him, we were like, what the hell is that on his face?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And it's never worked for him since. So compare and contrast this particular promo of a guy who had an unjustified babyface turn to a guy who might be making a fully justified face turn, because that's simply how things work in NXT. Ethan Page in the parking garage after losing, talking about how 4 matches. In my 4th match in NXT, I became the world champion. And then I lost it. And I was screwed out of my rematch against screwed out of the match where I lost it by CM Punk. And then I got a rematch at Halloween Havoc, lost there. I got my shot at another rematch here with Iron Survivor, lost here. And I'm at a point where I have no idea how I'm going to get back to be champion. It took me 14 years to become a champion in NXT, and I have no idea how I'm going to get back. And they're like, so where do you go from here? I don't know. I don't know. Like, if this is the beginning of a dude who's soul searching and figures out a way to, like, actually maybe what I've been doing isn't working and I'm going to do it to turn over a new leaf. This is how you actually show us the journey. It was a minute and a half long. It was everything we needed. Where if he shows up on Tuesday and starts wanting to win the right way, I have a promo that you showed me that told me how he got from point A to point B. That's so vital. Like, honestly, I don't know if that's where it's going. Ryan Cicchini says either Paige is going to the main roster after this, like he's out of NXT, or that Josh Alexander shows up and tags with him, which could be interesting.
That could be really fun.
Sweet and Sassy says Ethan is on a break and comes back at the Royal Rumble. Either of those things are possible, or because they seem to be unable to send you to the main roster unless you have had a run in NXT as both a heel and a face. Maybe they're like, okay, well, obviously we know you could do heel. Let's see what you do as a face down here, and then we'll send you to the main roster. Obviously, she'd be able to, like, Ethan, we have a whole tape library of you in Beyond Wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, we all...
and Impact and partially in AEW. Yeah.
We're not allowed to say we watched film of you in AEW. Or in ROH, your last run in ROH where you were a babyface. So we should be able to know Ethan Page can do this stuff, and if there's a spot on the main roster, just send him up. But apparently, by law, they are not allowed to send anyone to the main roster unless they have proven that they can do both things.
I mean, was Tiffany ever a face? She might have been the one that broke that mold. But it does feel like, for the most part, they really, really do that.
Yeah, that seems to be a new, not a nude erective, but a new directive.
Yeah.
Since she got sent to the main roster.
Yeah, that's true.
This entire year has felt like it's just been
What can you do this way? What can you do that way?
Can you do this way? Can you try this way? Try this thing. So.
I felt like there was almost this. Maybe this is me just loving Oba Femi so much, but I felt like there was a subtext of also like, I have no idea how I'm going to get back to the title because that guy was like sitting there. And if you're going to turn Ethan Page face and you're going to make Oba Femi champion, all day with that. Please make that a trilogy. I would love to see that. That's almost the only reason I would want you to turn Ethan Page face because he's a very effective face, but I just like him as a heel because he's got, I say it all the time, he's got that Kevin Owens gene. He just does. But you're right. The differential in those, I don't know if there's anybody currently in NXT who is more efficient with their promo time that they're given than Ethan Page. Yeah. You could say it all of WWE probably, but there's a few others out there. Certainly KO in a rental car, it gives that a chase. But there's just not in the same way that in the in-ring with Ethan Page, there's not a moment lost of storytelling with a single move that he does or a single breath that he takes. Like, that also seems so true on the promo side with him. And even his relationship with Ava feels very different than a lot of people. And this is over. I'm so impressed by his ability in general. Right now, it doesn't feel like he's also trying to make the best with bad booking. It feels like he's just in a more reasonable spot. So all that stuff looks even better because it's not being hampered by anything. So I love the guy so much. Like, I really am such a fan of his work. And this is a great little window as to why it doesn't take much to be super effective with a wrestling promo. And they turn him face, if they call him up, if they have him in a tag team to try a new path toward things, like, man, I'm invested in Ethan Page because he acknowledged where he's at.
Yeah.
That's really cool. After it's on the same PLE as the Iron Survivor that he lost. Like, these are the consequences of the match that he lost. It should be that simple most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So talking about Tiffany, she showed up to say it's my hometown, so of course I'm here.
Duh.
But I hear there's going to be a big NXT show in LA in La La Land, so maybe I'll show up with my briefcase. And like, they are doing this weird thing they're calling the transfer portal, which they're explaining as though the GMs from all three brands are getting together and deciding how to reshuffle everything. What's really happening is that Netflix wants the top 2 stars from SmackDown. And they want to keep the top guy, their view of the top guy on Raw in CM Punk. And they're probably, I would assume, just throwing bags of money onto Becky Lynch's lawn.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I would think so.
And so, like, she showed up at this Netflix the press conference type dealie or whatever junket. So, like, she's obviously if not back in the fold, she's close to she's fold adjacent. She is as close to the fold as you can be without being back in it if she's not back in it. And so they're trying to figure out how they're going to move things around. And if this is indeed we're not demoting anybody, nobody's just showing up for a couple of matches here and there, but also working SmackDown. If they end up sending people from the main roster to NXT to actually work NXT, because that's a network show now, it's on the CW. Maybe they're trying to make that better. I don't want it to be Tiffany Stratton. You know what I mean? But
right.
if they said this is what we're doing with Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte's coming back, Becky's coming back. We don't have a spot for her as the women's champion right now on Raw or SmackDown. But Roxanne's losing. So if we do, Tiffany comes in to ruin Giulia's crowning moment, and then Giulia and Steph and Zelta and all of them, Sol Ruca after tonight, are all Jaida Parker, are all chasing Tiffany Stratton. Like, you could find worse ways of using her. I'm saying I think she should be a main attraction on the main roster. But if they're like, we're getting Charlotte back, we're getting Becky back, plus Liv Morgan is the biggest star on the roster, and then Rhea Ripley and Bianca and all this stuff, and we just don't have room for her right now. If they're just going to have her cash in and fail and languish on the main roster, or cash in and be a success in NXT, I guess I would choose that second one.
No, she needs to cash in on Nia and Witten. That's the only thing I'll accept. They've invested too much into that.
I agree, but let's say that's not a possibility, and the only thing is that she cashes in and loses.
But it is a possibility, so they should just do it.
Okay.
Ryan Chiquiti also saying Ethan and Soul's interaction pre-show was awesome. I did not see it.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, we're not the biggest pre-show watchers, but I was fully on commentary at Excite, actually, where Ethan Page used to hang out, and I got to meet him.
Yeah,
good dude.
Yeah. So the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge was predictably very, very good. Maddie showed out, even though she took a whole bunch of losses.
So good. So
she's
good.
Very, very good. She's very, very good. Sol Ruca, obviously, who belongs in that tier with the top women.
Yes.
I think Maddie does too, but the character is plucky. The character is not, I'm at your level. The character is like, I can figure out a way to maybe get a wackadoo pinfall, but I'm not actually, I'm smart enough to figure out a way to hang, but I'm not on your level as a wrestler. That's the character. Maddie Renkowski may be. Wren Sinclair is not. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the way that was all set out was very good. It came down to the reason I said that the men's Iron Survivor to me tonight should be the template for almost every Iron Survivor, male or female, from now on. Tied, one apiece, 5 minutes left. May the best man win. That's so much better than, Braun Breaker came in a couple of minutes ago. He's got 6 pinfalls. Trick Williams has got 1. There's no way Trick Williams can win now. And then you do some ridiculous thing in 40 seconds where he gets a half dozen pinfalls. Like, to me, that strains credulity. But if you tell me that all 5 guys have 1 pinfall apiece, and it's 5 minutes left, and the guy who gets the most pinfalls in 5 minutes wins, now all of a sudden That makes sense to me. I get that part. Here with the women, it was simple. It was also very, very close to that. I don't know how much time was left, but not nearly as much as 5 minutes. But all of them, once Wren Sinclair got her last one, they were all tied at 2. And it was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And I really liked the idea because at that point, anybody was possible to win this thing. I thought that was really cool. It comes down to, at the very end, an opportunity to do something they've never done before in an Iron Survivor, and they were going to have to do it eventually. But to my knowledge, they have never stated what might happen if this were to take place.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were going to go with
gets a pin on, I believe, Wren Sinclair with about 5 seconds left, and she goes up 3-2 to 2-2. Stephanie runs in and pins her and gets a 2.5 with 1 second left. If you just let Steph get that pinfall on Giulia,
what happens?
The chaos there of we never planned for this. And Ava has to come down, and HBK and maybe Mr. Regal, and they all huddle. And like everyone else but Stephanie and Giulia go to the back. Sudden death. They went off the air 15 minutes early.
If it was like the Rambo almost from New Japan, or how the Dynamite Battle Royal comes down to, like, you're at the last 2 and whatever, and then you have a sudden death, that would be very, very cool. The chat pointing out that the pin was actually on
Zaria,
our Zelta Zaria,
sure,
but I liked that because it justified that she was in the penalty box for a good chunk of this, because she's so dominant that she needs to be. It was almost imperative that she be in the penalty box, because if she were in the match, she should be a difference maker.
The last pinfall was on Sol Ruca, because Sol Ruca was in the penalty box watching Giulia celebrate. So that was the thing for me, because Sol Ruca was standing there, and I was like, can you let her out? Like, the match is over. Like, somebody let her out of the penalty box. Like, the match has been over for 1.5 minutes. But like, I thought that there was a really amazing opportunity to do Steph versus Giulia. Now, Giulia wants a rematch with Roxanne.
She had the pin.
Cora cost her the first one all the way back on October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But Stephanie pinned her in a tag match. So she also feels like she has an opportunity. But I just feel like there was because what happened at the end of the men's match? Oh, that was all tied up, or at least he was down a pin or whatever, and he had to win in the last 10 seconds to do it, and he did with a double chokeslam, which was cool. But then Javon Evans comes in and almost pins him with 1 second left, and that's fine. But if you do basically the same thing with the women's match, that kind of diminishes both in a way, and it shouldn't.
A little bit.
But it kind of does. Like, I feel like you got to figure out a different way. And if you had done this, especially with the second match of the night, like we thought we were getting the same thing we got in the first match, but this time Steph does pin Giulia, and then it's a sudden death. And then if you want to have Giulia get a pin on Steph to get her match, fine. I'm fine with that. Some people saying that I liked it more. Ryan Chiquini says Vaquer never took a pin. Well, I mean, okay, that's really protecting her then, because everybody takes pins in these matches. Femi took a pinfall.
She also came in last, right? So
yeah,
that tracks.
It is the way it works. But they're gonna have to eventually deal with. You can't just never book it to be tied after 25 minutes, because if you ran a simulation, it would be tied 40% of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just because it's too long with too many people in there, and it will be tied 1 apiece. Like, at some point, if you ran a simulation, it will be tied where 4 people have 2 pinfalls and 1 person has 1. And what do you do there? You have to have in the bylaws what happens if they're tied after 25 minutes. But to my knowledge, they have never actually stated what the plan is. It seems obvious that it would be
a sudden death between the two.
But if that's the case, then tell us when the match starts.
Yep. Ruca she's fantastic. She looked great in this. I loved the double soul snatcher spots, and then they both got away, and she was like, oh. And then she had the sense of when Maddie Rankowski came back into the ring, soul snatcher in the corner, doesn't let her get away. Yeah, immediate pinfall sends her back right away. And Maddie's, or Wren Sinclair rather, her reaction was fantastic. The more she kept getting pinned, the more just like, oh, she got, which was really, really good. Little just wrestling pet peeves. There was a lot of times in this women's one where people did damage and did not go for a pinfall, like did not cover.
Yeah.
And were showboating or whatever. And that's something that's just a pet peeve of mine in regular matches. But when the entirety of the purpose of the match is to get a pinfall, don't go to the top rope. Don't showboat. Right. So that's just a little frustrating. One thing that I did like is I feel like these first two, or these Iron Survivors, I don't know if it had previously been established. Correct me if I'm wrong, because your memory on this stuff is better than mine. If I double pin someone, that's 2 pinfalls for me. It was very clear in these. I don't know if we had that in past ones of just like, if I double submit someone, that's 2 for me. And what I love is you're talking about the ending and I'm talking about that, and neither of them came into play yet. So as this very specific and delightfully weird match type evolves, as we get into a 4th and a 5th one of these, there are still avenues to explore. And last year made me a little concerned about that because you're somewhat limited in the endings that you can do. But I like that this was the first year where I was like, damn, okay, Lash Legend pinned 2 women last year. She was the one that I was like, if someone did it, it was probably her. But that story was much more forward this time. I also didn't love, but I didn't hate how submission heavy the wrestling in the beginning of the women's one was, because I get the idea of making someone tap, but it takes so much more time to get someone to submit than for someone to just get pinned, that I didn't love how heavy they were into that. But the wrestling was really good, and the spots that they were doing those submissions with were very creative. So not my favorite, but if you're telling me that this is what we're doing, they did that quite well. So I did enjoy that stuff. Love Ruca getting to show out and looking really smart. But just if I'm nitpicking, little tweaks I would have made would be like, if I do a bunch of damage on someone, I'm immediately going for the cover because that's the entire premise of the match. So just wrestling brain things kicking around, but this was quite good. The mix of women in it were great. You knew Wren Sinclair was going to be there to eat a lot of pinfalls, but she didn't feel like a chump in the process, which isn't always easy to do. And some of that is the credit to just how well she performed in the match. Some of that is the reactions on her faces. Some of that feels like the story that they're telling with the No Quarter Catch crew of her kind of coming along with this group of very pure wrestlers in a way. So I thought it accomplished a lot more than I was expecting. It does feel a little bit like we copied and pasted the men's match ending with and changed the font from black to dark charcoal. Like it's
I didn't realize also that it was also tied 1-1-1-1-1.
Yeah, it was all ones. Okay.
It was all ones in both matches until the last 10 seconds. And that just feels like it was like, okay, so you're setting out the women's match, you're setting out the men's match. The finish you both have to do is it's all tied at 1 and the winner wins in the last 10 seconds. And you each have to do that. And I feel like don't do that. Give them something else and give them a different thing. Don't have them both do the same scenario, because that's what it felt like to me.
When Zaria wasn't last, I thought we might be getting a similar ending to the first one, because if she had come in last, even though she wasn't a reveal, it would have been like Lady Obafemi's coming into the match now a little bit.
Well. Yeah.
She had a really cool spot too, where was it Maddie that she caught with a spear?
I think so.
There was a really cool spear off the rope spot that looked really good. She's gonna be watching our Zelta Zaria takeover is gonna be something very fun. Yeah. Very fun. Also, very clean match. Much better than I thought the women's War Games match on the main roster. I enjoyed this more.
I wanted to call attention to the most wholesome thing that's ever happened in the history of our show. Aubrey fell asleep. Time to carry her to bed.
That's up there with the Ceases asking each other what they want for food. They're like they're neck and neck on that, on the wholesome vibes.
If the Ceases were both 9, I would agree with you. But Aubrey is 9, and she fell asleep while listening to us to talk about NXT Deadline. So that's about.
See, I don't think that's cute. I think she's a fake fan. Stay awake.
Okay, we
name your top 5 Sour Graps episodes, Aubrey.
Very funny.
Kidding. We are not those assholes.
We're not at all. Luis says, important fact that they will surely use on TV. That sounds like sarcasm. Vaquer is the first person ever to lose an Iron Survivor match without being pinned.
Interesting. That works because she came in last.
I hope they do use it. Also, Wren immediately losing her mind after Vaquer caught her in her victory roll after just coming back from being in the cage. Was
so hilarious. Good. She was great.
We got the crowd while she was in the penalty box starting a we love Wren or something.
Let's go Wren, I think. Yeah, it was so funny.
Ryan Cicchini says Soul proved she's the top of the prospects. Before her injury, I thought her and Tiff would be forever rivals.
Wait.
Soul can be a pillar in the division.
Everybody was tied at 1.
Right.
So Steph did get pinned.
No.
By Wren, right?
But Wren got pinned more than once. Steph never got pinned, but she did pin somebody. I have the whole thing here. Like, Wren got pinned 3 times. Giulia got pinned once. Ruca got pinned once. And Zaria got pinned once.
I'm dumb. Never mind.
There you go.
I can't do math.
Soul got pinned by Wren. Yeah. So this is the thing that we talked about at the very beginning. We thought that there were just going to be too many pinfalls, and the way to work is that if you got pinned, you lost a point.
Yeah.
Like that was a point of discussion 2 or 3 years ago, whenever this was. So like, yeah.
That's what it was. Soul went for the Soul Snatcher and Zaria Spiritor. That was really cool.
Ryan Cicchini says, I thought Vaquer should have won, but this helps speed the heel process for both Vaquer and Zaria. If that's what they're going to do with them, for sure. Like Giulia beating Roxanne because she gets her win back because Cora Jade tries and helps her this time, but she can't. And then Vaquer being like, okay, I'm coming after you. And Zaria being like, no, I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'm not mad about that.
Like, and you could easily just turn the North American division for a while into Sol Ruca, Jaida Parker, Lola Vice. You know, Kalani trying to get her thing back versus the influencer girls. Like, that's a very easy transition. Like, here's our main event scene. It's these 3 women. Giulia's champ. Steph and Zaria are coming after her. Like, yeah. You can silo that off, and that'll be great all the way into the summer. But I love that they have a North American title now that all of these other women can be battling it out for. Honestly,
100% with you.
Cactus J22 says, I am shocked. I thought Alex would hate the ending of the men's and the women's. I pictured Alex ranting about how Oba didn't pin one after another over and over again. And Giulia getting another match, even though she lost the first match versus Roxanne. Well, I always knew she was going to get one because another match after, because of how she lost the first one. Cora Jade did that. Yeah. My problem is that, and this has nothing to do with Giulia, honestly, you never should have booked Roxanne to get pinned by Stephanie and then Zaria Zelta in tag matches if they were never going to get title matches against Roxanne. Because it unnecessarily makes Roxanne look weak. And
they were in, one was a tag match and one was the multiest of multi-women matches. It was a 5-woman match.
Yeah, exactly. Just Ricardo says, I am home from work. Love you all. We love you, Just Ricardo. And Kylie, the gamer princess, says, hello, you beautiful humans. I hope y'all are well. We have some reality TV show puns.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Lieutenant Photo says, Survivor, the feuding with Mox edition.
Very fair. Very fair.
Chris Pereira says, Rob and Big Bill.
Oh, got it. Sorry. Brain delay.
Chris Pereira says, say yes, boy, to the dress.
They should host that show. They'd be amazing.
They would be great. Chris Pereira says, Dancing with the Stardust.
That's for the Ceases if they're still here. That's a good one.
Lieutenant Photo says, America's Next Top Maximum Male Models.
Writes itself. Beautifully done.
Chris Pereira says, Love is Blind Tag. Lieutenant Photo says, Tour of the Love Islands.
That's really good.
Chris Pereira says, No Quarter Deadliest Catch Crew.
My parents love that show.
Deadliest Catch?
That show. Oh my God, yeah.
My in-laws watched nothing but Expeditions or something with Josh Gates. The guy who goes around and does like weird, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
That's all they watch. That's it. It's just, I don't know if there's like a constant stream of them or they just DVR all of the episodes and there's like 20 of them a week and they just watch them constantly. I don't know, man.
It's Law and Order SVU style.
Yeah. Chris, Expedition Unknown. There you go. It's fine, but it's just funny that's all they watch or talk about. Chris Chris Lloyd says WWE ID participate in Breakout. Just curious.
Who was? Oh my God. I'm sure Zeta Steel. Zeta Steel's the Breakout to me, and Bryce Donovan is quite good as well. I'm just looking at the page because I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
but.
Lieutenant Colonel Photo's wife says RuPaul Heyman's Drag Race. Chris Ferreira says Hank and Shark Tank. I probably would have changed it to Shark Hank and Shark Tank, but no, that's very good.
Well
Chris Ferreira says Selling Sunset Flip Powerbomb.
Very nice.
Very
well done.
In a photo says Jersey Shore TG. Chris Pereira says Ice Road Techers. And that's the winner. Sorry, everybody. Ice Road Techers takes it. Ice Road Techers.
The Techers win again.
Oh, my goodness. Force of Will says Big Bill Brother.
Very good.
The rest are Korean reality TV. The Devil's Plan by MJF, Hard Way, Bloody Game, Kushida's Time Hotel, and Bobby the Genius Hedon. I don't know.
I don't know any of those. Sorry.
I don't know.
But I bet they're great ones.
But this Chris Pereira also has diners, drive-ins, and suicide dives.
Very nice.
Very, very good. Thank you, everybody. Tune in tomorrow behind the paywall. Fightful Select, easiest $5 in the business to get all of the things back.
Or $54 for the year.
Tomorrow night, Kate and I will be doing a recap and a where are we now in the C2 thing. We'll talk about whatever happened on Collision last night, but also talk about what are the matches that are left for every participant, what we think their record will be going forward, try and predict halfway through who's winning the blue, who's winning the gold, and the all-important who is taking second in either of those things. And then maybe we'll go out on a limb and say who's winning the whole damn thing. So that'll be a lot of fun. Watch me lose my mind trying to do C2 math. It was a big hit last year. It's going to be a big hit tomorrow night because I'm going to lose my mind.
It's one of my favorite things to be the co-host of.
Yeah.
Just Alex losing his mind at math.
Yeah. Until then. Oba Femi is your next WWE NXT World Champion. So tonight, nothing sucks because that sucks so little that nothing else can suck by comparison.
And Tiffany's back, so I can say toodles.
Keep cool, Gabagools.